創業式無限に Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Valley of the Judged. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me is my good brother here in the temple, the man asking you all of your probing questions, good brother Nephanor.
Take us to your leader.
Which you'd probably then follow up with, take us to your actual leader.
Well, you know, we have several leaders.
Mm-hmm. But we are back once again. I do have to apologize for last week because of the fact that I ended up covering more than I had planned, which means that I'll have less this week. Because
it happens, you know, sometimes.
Yeah, the original plan that I had was to cover last week was to cover character stuff, and that was to cover character creation and then cover character stuff and equipment this week. Unfortunately, that's not what ended up happening. I ended up covering a bunch of the stuff that wasn't character stuff last week. So this week is just going to be about equipment. And that's not to say there's not going to be much in the way of equipment, but it is saying I kind of bit off more than I could chew. In my defense, there wasn't a natural break, and if there's any point of criticism I would have with the game, it's some of the way things are organized. I'm not expecting a bunch of fancy-ass art or fancy-ass layouting, but like a bunch of abilities that weren't listed alphabetically, that kind of pushes things. But when it comes to equipment, the first thing we have is guns.
The thing we all love.
Yep. In Weirdspace, there's a good chance at some point your characters will get into a fight, either by causing it or just by being at the wrong place at the wrong time. Why not both?
Exactly. I mean, guns are useful in all situations.
Mm-hmm.
Especially negotiations.
Yep. They may want to arm themselves. There are several types of guns available with different costs. Some have special rules, and some are illegal to own.
As far as I'm concerned, the right to arm bears is a right that everyone needs to have.
Mm-hmm. And we do have a bunch of different types. We have bullet firing ones. We have rifles, which add 10% to every aiming action. Blasters, self-explanatory. Shotguns, also self-explanatory. Flame weapons, which use pyrogen, which is a hydrogen-based chemical.
Hans, get the Flammenwerfer, the heavy Flammenwerfer.
And let's see, plasma, which do not need batteries as it recharges over time. Heavy plasmas charge up rather than recharge. If the RC test is a critical fail on any plasma-based weapon, then it overloads and destroys itself. Roll for damage, and the shooter takes that amount of damage, XD6, to their firing arm.
That was a 70-inch plasma television.
Let's see, alien. This is a catch-all for guns and weaponry that aren't of human design. These vary wildly and can have a whole host of effects. Disruptors are an example of alien technology. They cause no real damage, but stop the flow of electricity through any weapon or vehicle. This means that any laser gun, plasma gun, powered shield, bionic limb or organ, car, bike, or tank, etc. will temporarily stop working, like a short-term EMP. And then odd for weapons.
You could also go with, I'm surprised that, you could have different things, like if you've ever played the game Destroy All Humans, there's the probe gun too.
Yeah, of course you would bring up Destroy All Humans.
I fucking love that game series.
But when it brought up alien as a category of firearm, I immediately thought of the alien gun in the original Marathon.
That too. That thing was pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. Oh. It would be interesting to see how someone would handle the combi rifle from Marathon in this, which is useful, but has a bit of a problem of being maybe a little too useful.
Yeah, that's true. And I do like that in the list there's actually one alien weapon called a brain flare.
With a flame pistol mode.
Mmm, that makes perfect sense.
Yep.
Light a fire up somebody's ass where their brain is.
But we do have different modes for them. We do have the damage, shots, weight, cost, battery cost, and whether or not they're legal. I kind of think that the column should have been explained first.
Yeah, they really don't. It's kind of either that or have a God, what do they call it? Where it's down the bottom footnote.
Yeah. And there isn't one.
Yeah, that's what bothers me.
But then we have potential upgrades. But why is this in yellow?
Yeah, this looks like somebody accidentally just copied the Excel spreadsheet over and didn't notice.
Which has cost, some of the special effects. Then we have special ammunition and how much it costs for small, medium, heavy, shotgun, and large bore. And we also have grenades and missiles and how much each costs for each and how much it costs to buy 50 of them. Although I do love the cost of Molotov cocktail being DIY.
Which makes sense because that is exactly what a Molotov cocktail is. It's do it yourself.
Yep. Then it goes into the upgrades and modifications. The first one being hexagonal ammo clip, which spirals the bullet so it can hold. It's a drum mag. It's a fucking drum mag. And there is good reason why drum mags aren't used as much these days. Mostly because it takes so damn long to load them.
I mean, why would you use a drum mag when you can have a system that automatically changes the direction of the bullet like a P90? Which I still wonder why the fuck they went through all of that just for that.
You dig around long enough when it comes to engineering and you find some weird ideas. Sometimes those weird ideas are to get around patents like the folding shotgun. Which part of its design, especially when it comes to its reloading mechanism, was because they didn't want to piss off firearms god John Moses Browning.
That's fair. Then there's always the other option.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But we have quite a few of them, each of them with their own credit cost. But
I mean,
we have that same problem that we talked about last week. These upgrades are not in alphabetical order.
Yep. The one thing I've been seeing consistently in this game is it seems to have a problem with just kind of it seems slapped together without any thought of making it more readable, which it needs a second pass from somebody to just go over it and look at this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Then we have grenades and missiles, which again we have that same kind of problem because why is there an H after an M, for example, with Molotov cocktail and hallucinogen?
Yeah, nothing is explained.
Well, obviously the effects of the grenades are explained, but in terms of why there's this kind of order. But since we have hallucinogenic grenades, we have hallucinogen effects. Like stone. Stone. For the next D6 turns, you can do nothing except maybe giggle, and in the last affected turn, go find biscuits.
I like that there's also stoned again, and you're off to find biscuits again.
And crisps.
Oh yeah, you gotta get that. Paranoia. You become Alex Jones.
uh, then we also have special ammunition, which has the similar thing. Though I do like the evil rounds here, sometimes known as Bullet Ben or bullets of excessive nastiness. This particular type of ammunition really earns its name. If the bullet manages to cause even a single point of damage, then the target is dead. With the end containing part biological weapon, including reverse steroids, part nuclear waste, and a tiny fragment of depleted uranium, there really is a long, drawn-out, lingering, horrible, nasty death waiting for whoever is hated to be taken down by one of these. Half the shot character's strength and toughness every time experience is given out. When either value is reduced to single figures, these shot players should roleplay being in a lot of pain, as this is the last session the character will be alive. I told you they were evil. Cost 100 credits.
I'm amused by the fact that they have both vampire and demon killer rounds, and the fact that those are fairly cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Although, games like Rifts, they literally came up with ammo for a glitter boy for vampires. And considering those things use rail guns, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, well, if vampires are going to be a common thing in your setting, then having stuff to deal with vampires should also be common.
But the fact that you're talking a railgun, which propels things faster than the speed of sound, somehow creating spikes that could survive that, wooden spikes that could survive that, is pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm. Although when it comes to anti-vampire equipment, I will always have a soft spot for Blade.
Oh yeah, his stuff was so much cooler. I love the way they designed that.
Especially stuff like EDTA, which is in the hall of, why didn't anyone think about this sooner?
Explode some vampire heads, best way to deal with them.
Then we have close combat weapons. Some of them are powered, some of them are chained. We have a chainsaw shovel.
That one, well, you know what? I could see the Death Corps of Krieg getting very excited at that one.
I hear happy gas mask noises.
Exactly.
Let's see. Trauma weapons, basically energy ones, and alien weapons, and improvised. And then we have its particular list of weapons.
I do love some of the things in the improvised list. Bar stool, severed leg, frying pan, wok, meat cleaver, brick/rock, beer bottle, broken beer bottle, sack of doorknobs. Gun butt, double-ended dildo, shovel, spade, quadrille bat, length of chain.
Yeah, the sack of doorknobs, knowing what I know about slang, that can mean a lot of things.
Yep. But the fact that they actually included double-ended dildo amuses me to no end.
Mm-hmm. But then we have the upgrades and modifications for them, and there's plenty of ones that are interesting, although I find it amusing that one of them is harmless looking. With some of these, how would you even make that harmless looking?
Well, a sack of doorknobs can be have the word kitten written on the side of it.
Or what, like the axe named Kindness?
Exactly.
And after that is the Emporium, which is mostly covering stuff that isn't weapons. Your gadgets. Apparently, buck gloves, condoms,
accordions, banjos, important things.
Yep. After that, we have clothing, which is standard fare. And then we have armor and shielding, and we return to something that I do not care for.
Yep, sideways. But I am also amused that they do have in the list of equipment Pack of bendy straws.
That's a large pack.
Hey, bendy straws are fun. Everybody loves those.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. And then drugs and bars, which include things like peanuts, a caffeine drink, and a bar towel, which is flammable.
Well, yes. Because of the fact that it's been soaking up booze all night, it's probably more flammable than any other towel you're going to find.
Mm-hmm. Imagine giving a large red bar towel to a matador and setting it on who's fireproof, then setting the cape on fire.
Ooh. I love the fact that the next section after this is specifically named and very appropriate.
Mm-hmm. So Russian tech and Japanese tech, which I appreciate. I appreciate the nods in this, especially the idea of a kimono armor, a woven armor in a kimono. What, like a kimono that's made out of Kevlar?
That actually would be pretty effective.
And black market items, which include a variety of things, including the brain flare, as mentioned, which is essentially a gun that deals psychic damage. And because of that, it goes right through armor.
Best kind of gun.
Mm-hmm. The disruptors, as we mentioned, disruptor shielding, Gauss weapons, a invasive airlock, cloaking device, which is standard fare. You know, quite a few things.
You know, actually, as much as I appreciate the naming, I actually think invasive airlock would be better served by being called a breaching airlock because technically that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. And not the black market, which is one bit of a thing. And then we have downloading skills. The head drive is one of humanity's greatest creations, removing the need for training and giving the human race what it's always wanted, a quick fix solution. There are also entertainment options, but the hard drive in the back of your head was what really started the tech head movement going. Being able to learn a vast range of skills in a few seconds has meant the difference between life and death in some situations. Soldiers can be trained in advanced combat techniques and first aid in a few minutes rather than spend weeks in training camps. If doctors are needed for an epidemic, no problem. We'll just download the required skills into anyone with a steady hand and away we go.
You know, I do love this because this is literally, I know Kung Fu.
Show me.
And then, of course, it gets to the virus table. Now, these ones, I got to read out some of these because these are good.
Mm-hmm.
Result 1. You get an accent along with the skill. Now you must role play a Mexican, German, Jamaican, whatever one you speak. It's like, okay, you get an almost obsessive admiration for your own genitals right now. Everyone should be made aware of how sexy your groin is. Cyber Tourette's syndrome. You scream obscenities at inappropriate moments. Your sexual orientation changes. Well, congratulations. You're liable to burst into song at any moment. Now, that one could be hilarious. You know, it's like I've seen so many TV shows where they have their musical episodes, and you could literally do that. You become very submissive, willing to go along with anything they say, no matter how suicidal it may be. Call people master. It's like, these are great. These are awesome. You hallucinate seeing some little goblins running around and insulting you. Maybe they're pulling things apart. Oh, great. Now you can be William Shatner from Twilight Zone.
And then what's the difference between synthetic parts and bionic ones?
One is grown and one is not.
Mm-hmm. And after that, we have a list of what's known as wetware, which I think would be what would be considered bioware in Shadowrun. And I appreciate the list and the different categories, but once again, they're not alphabetized. And two, I don't like having to
Sideways.
turn my head.
Yeah, it's like, come on, guys. Sideways like this does not work unless you're doing it as a pull-out sheet or something like that that you don't have to actually have in the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I didn't like it reading old comics and seeing those 2-page spreads you had to turn 90 degrees because it just takes you out of the moment.
And I appreciate the nod to Red Dwarf with this next one.
Yep, hologram characters. Basically, if you die and you're replaced with a backup personality, a hologram projector is one way, but if you do so, it does have some benefits. Or rather, some drawbacks. Because for starters, you can't touch anything. You've got all the same stats, as well as all the memories, including that of your own death, if you saw it happening. The solid state upgrade gives your hologram a more tangible form, running off the same kind of technology as a spaceship shield, meaning instead of toughness, you've got 50 hit points before you revert to being incorporeal. Your strength value in a solid state is a set 60%, regardless of what it was originally. One solid state projector can only maintain a level of 60%. You'll be limited to a set distance from the projector unless you get the remote projection unit, which is a nifty little floating battery that'll let your hologram roam free for an entire session before it needs recharging. Ah, the Doctor and Voyager.
Well, I am amused by the fact that they actually do have the soft light and hard light versions, just like Rimmer.
Mm-hmm. Then we have nanotechnology, uh, which does which does give your body the ability to heal any injuries overnight, even if it was a bionic that was damaged, as well as upgrading your existing stats up to 135 each at a rate of D10 per day. Nanomachines, son.
Damn it, you beat me to it. I was just about to say the exact same thing.
Ooh, you almost had it. You gotta be quicker than that.
Yeah, I know. I got to be more in tune with my inner senator.
Mm-hmm. Then we have sentient virus characters. So if you want to play if you want to play a fucking germ, you can. Here's some of the merits and flaws you can get out of it.
Oh God, I do love the fact that you don't have to actually spend on physical upgrades. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. Though you can infect someone at any time and pass yourself on to another body, taking on any physical aspects the new host body has, and keeping your own mental stats, merits, and flaws. Seduction is classed as a physical thing for this, in case you were wondering. So, is it really a sentient virus, or is it a parasite?
It seems to be more of a parasite than a sentient virus.
But with that in mind, there's certainly a variety of equipment and stuff to work with, but once again, it feels like things are thrown in. And I'm not trying to imply some kind of laziness, but there's almost a seat of the pants kind of approach with the way things are written out. And for some things, I'm fine with that, but when it comes to things that are listed, there's an issue.
Yeah, you gotta have organization. You gotta have it be readable, and you need to have some kind of a legend for people to know what all of it means. For legality, and it mentioned the alien stuff, and it just said HM. It's like, what the hell does HM mean?
And this, I know it could be assumed when it comes to the things like the weapon list, but you shouldn't be making that assumption.
Yeah, that's one thing I learned is when I was doing teaching. Always assume that the people know nothing, and it should be the same thing when it comes to RPGs. Assume that the players and the GMs know nothing.
Yeah, that's also why I don't like it when people get on me about the whole the game's trusting that the players can figure it out. It's like that only works if everybody at the table is genre savvy, and that is an ask.
Yeah, you gotta have it open. You gotta be ready to let players and GMs get ideas. Let them know anything. If there's something that you may want them to know, you've got to have it in there.
Hmm. But with that in mind, the that is, I think the other major issue that we had with this time around was the return of something we saw a little bit in the Mega 10 RPG, but I don't think it's as excusable here. And that is the sideways stuff. First off, there's a lot more of it than we had in Tokyo Conception. We only had a couple pages of it, and in the times we did have it, it was understandable.
Yeah, and in these ones, you could have easily just done them the vertical orientation, and it would have been just fine. Sure, the lines would have been a little more scrunched, but that's fine. It was a table that could have used it.
Mm-hmm. But here they do it several times more than what the only major time we saw that in Mega 10 was regarding fusion.
Yeah, and in that one, it was kind of understandable considering the how complex that table was.
Mm-hmm. I think we may have also seen it with some of the equipment stuff. Actually, yeah, fusion and equipment were the only times we saw it, and Mega 10 is a very packed in book.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this one, just scroll up one page and you can see they could have easily turned that table 90 degrees, just extended the lines, and it would have worked perfectly.
Especially given the amount of space that's not used. So,
Yeah, those are, there's no excuse for that. That is just bad layout design on their part. And I'm sorry. That's the truth of it. It definitely did not need to be that way.
and I know I know some might argue that this was something about the environment that a game was made, but when it's a commercial thing, uh, a lot of that stuff you can't really get away with anymore. But now
Yeah,
that being said, next week we're starting to establish a pattern where we enjoy the it seems we enjoy the core aspects of how the game plays, but the way things are presented we have some issues with.
yeah, the actual basis, the actual game itself, the core of the game is great. It just needs somebody to go over and just sit down and say, "All right, this needs a layout change." Other than that, our organization, those are the two things that this game really needs: is somebody to just a proofreader, just proofread the whole thing and make it more legible.
Hmm. Now that being said, this time next week we will not be doing Weirdspace because we are at our 3-in-1 rule. Uh, so next week around we are going to be looking at Double Moon, which should be a interesting experience. Uh, especially since it allows me to dive headfirst into the weird and wonderful end of the tabletop sphere. I'm trying to think if that was. I know that there was one with the name Moon that was a fan translation project. I'm trying to remember if this was that one or not. Uh, and give me a second because I'm looking it up in my library. It's going to take a bit because I have way too many PDFs. Oh,
You too many?
yes, I know. And when it comes to that, obviously that's going to be a one shot, and then afterwards we'll have we'll have a couple more entries when it comes to Weirdspace before we're completely finished. And I have a feeling I know where I'm going to be grading the game, but I still want to finish it out before that. Unless we end up with one of those situations where we can't find a natural break, so we end up ending a week early. Which is a distinct possibility.
Oof, I already see something. I scrolled down. Oh, wait a minute. No, that was just me scrolling to a different spot.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm gonna need to make sure I have it in the folder for you to get. But
yes,
I realized this was a short one, but that's kind of my own damn fault. In my defense, there's not really a chapter break with a lot of the material here, so it's easy to go from one thing to the next.
Yeah, that's another thing. It really could use some cleanliness in its layout for chapter delineations, even if it's just a simple chapter X, chapter Y, whatever, something like that, just to make it more noticeable.
Oh, yeah. But with that said, as always, a sincere thanks to everyone who took the time out of their schedule to come onto the show and enjoy the madness. And there will be plenty more where that came from, as there always is here, on the open bar of the internet. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.
Warning.